So, hello, Build Stuff. Did you enjoy the party today? Oh, yesterday. Did you have enough sleep? Hopefully, yes.
The party continues now.
From the shadows of cold, the battle unfolds. Calling energy sharp, we crash to evil. All throughout the languages, sharp as a blade. In the world of past legends someday. Our ancient times collide in the air. Heroes and titans who will dare. As we call the runtimes, the choice lies in hand. What we call the code of the lands, the epic battle. She shot fulfilling the dream with every line. Everybody we see who's the best in this language war. Who rise above the rest? Knows and constructors, expressions unleashed. Extension functions, a core warrior feast. They fight for the future.
So,
Available now on Spotify.
not really. Okay, so hello everyone. Last year, and some of you might remember, I stood on the Build Stuff stage championing C# against a formidable opponent, F#. And I did it because another speaker dared me to. And if there's one thing you don't say to a techie, that's I dare you to. But afterwards, in a speaker room, I might have let slip that if I were to choose a language to stand against C#, this language would be Kotlin. And the moment I said it, Rendle popped up with a glint in his eye, and before I knew it, I was facing down the next challenge. So, here we are. This time I'm defending Kotlin.
And I am fighting in C#'s corner.
Okay. And why are you so adamant?
Basically, I've been doing C# for 25 years. I'm really good at it, and I get a lot of very well-paid consulting work, so I would rather people carried on using it.
Interestingly, that's what I hear from many JVM folks. And perhaps this talk can bridge the gap between these two ecosystems and gives us an opportunity to, hear something outside of our echo chambers. So we are going to briefly discuss the key differences between language features. Then we are going to compare runtimes and type systems of these two languages. And the rest of the talk is going to be the comparison of these two languages and their ecosystems use case-wise. And if you didn't scan this QR code yet, you should do it. So because we'll need your help.
We're going to use Slido at the end of each round. We'll ask you to vote on which language you thought won that specific round. And then at the end, we'll see that C# is the best.
Okay, if everything was done correctly, you should see this thing. Okay, cool. You know how to use Slido. That's awesome. You're the best.
Nice. Oh, I'm going to win. Yeah, no, I win. I'll see you later.
No, please stand. Okay, so round one, language features. And there are a lot of similarities. Nullable types. Kotlin introduced nullable types before it was mainstream, then C# stole it from Kotlin. If you hate primary constructors in C#, that's because of Kotlin as well, because Kotlin and Scala, they both had primary constructors. Data classes are just records, extension functions are extension methods. We have pattern matching support, at least partial, when expressions and switch expressions in C# correspondingly, lambda types, functions, delegates, enum classes, enums, and stream API versus link use. So a lot of similarities, really. And if we needed only to compare those language features, it would be just pick your favorite, and that's it. Let's go home.
You took out the history slide.
The history slide?
Where did the history slide go? I was all ready to do my history bit.
Where is it?
Yeah, no, you took it out. Okay.
I don't know.
There were some old languages, then there was C#, then there was Kotlin. There you go, history.
Yeah, something happened. There was
yes.
history.
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So, but There are some differences. So there are differences in implementation, despite that there are things that are really similar. And there are things that are exclusive to Kotlin and C# correspondingly. So different implementations, coroutines instead of dedicated keywords, compiler plugins versus source generators, and DSL is an exclusive Kotlin feature, while in C# we have expression trees.
So yes, on the right here you can see async and await. So in C# you can mark a function as async, which says this is going to go and do something, and then it will come back and tell you it's finished. And in a function marked with async, you can use the await keyword, and you can also await any function marked with the async keyword.
Yes, and it's slightly different in Kotlin because unlike C#, there is no async or await keyword in Kotlin. Instead, we have a function. So we don't have to think about whether it's task or something. We can introduce our own type, and then there's this specific keyword suspend. So pretty much every function can be suspended. And since we don't have this nice await keywords, we have to know that this function can be suspended. And JetBrains was generous enough to give us this nice icon to show that, hey, this is a suspendable function.
I do like that icon.
Okay, so let's talk about link and stream APIs.
So yeah, link in C#, language integrated natural query. And the original idea was that you would actually write sort of from something, select something, where something, group by something. Nobody does that. Who actually uses link syntax in C#? Nobody. No, don't put your hand up because it'll prove me wrong. So no, this is how we do link. We have .where and .select and all. We chain methods together and we pass lambdas in. And we can use that on enumerables and queryables alike.
Yes, and it's really similar in Kotlin, but there are two things that I really like about Kotlin implementation and one thing I don't like. So the first thing that I like is the naming convention, because C# is basically the USA of programming languages. It has to be different. We can't use kilometers or centimeters. We can't even use like proper Celsius degrees. We should be different in every single aspect, because outside of C#, everybody uses filter, map, flat map, but it's for some reason we're in select in C#. And you know that this is the C# programming language because that's the only mainstream programming language that uses upper camel case.
It's the only one that's right.
Maybe. So the next thing, we can omit regular braces if that's just a single lambda. And we can omit the argument and replace it with it. So it's just a more concise syntax.
I do like the it. More pronouns.
Well, because it's just it. It's, you know, it's not feminine or masculine. It's just a system. Take it easy. So the thing I don't quite like about it is that we don't have iQueryable support here, which is kind of sucks. And instead of it, we need something else. And here, the direction of the language went, Kotlin went to another direction. And instead of supporting expression trees in runtime, they decided that, okay, we can generate code instead. And here we do have select from and where syntax, but we emphasize that this time, this is about the database.
Yeah, or the other way of looking at it is you have to decide in advance where it's coming from, and it's inconsistent. C# is consistent across all
Yes, depends
sources.
on the point of view. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we have source generators in C#. I've had that for a while now, and so here we can see a lot of boilerplate code for doing a view model class. It's actually missing one keyword. It should say public partial class on this, but yes. And then on your side you have...
Yes, that's kind of the same thing. So despite that, suspend is fantastic. Java is not fantastic, so it might be the only instance where it's problematic to have some interoperability between Java and Kotlin. So instead, the easiest thing we would do, we can provide Java people with non-asynchronous blocking implementation. But in this case, I would need to write these stupid wrappers in every single function. So instead, I can do a simple thing, annotate my download image function with this nice annotation. You can think about this as attributes in C#. That's the same thing.
So on the C# side here, we put a attribute on the class, and that generates the iNotify property changed interface, and then we just annotate private fields, and it generates all that complicated property code for each of them.
These are just like complete counterparts.
Yeah.
Except for, in Kotlin, we use Kotlin all the time, including our build systems. We don't use XML in 2024, sorry.
Yeah. No, basically Kotlin tied XML up in a sack with some rocks and threw it in a canal, and Microsoft rescued it and took it home and looked after it.
Maybe it should have not done it.
No, you're right.
Yeah, so basically what we want to do here, that's called Gradle. You can think about it as a Kotlin MS build. So we use Kotlin, we tell it, okay, please add this compiler plugin, so it will take a look at all the annotated functions and generate the corresponding blocking functions for us. Really nice. And what is also nice about it, that here we also leverage this nice DSL Kotlin feature. So it might not be obvious, but that's a valid Kotlin code. And ID and version here are both functions, but they are declared in a specific way. So if I add those braces here, you see these are functions that get some more functions as parameters. And the key difference here is that the test implementation function, for example, here, or implementation function, it's contextual. It knows that I can only use it here under dependencies. And Kotlin and version and ID, they both know that they only reside under the plugin section. That's how they are defined. It's called lambda plus receiver, and that's how type-safe builders are implemented in Kotlin. If you're a bit confused, that's okay. I have another example. So that's another thing that we can use Kotlin DSL for. Let's say we want a template engine with HTML. So what's it called in React?
JSX.
JSX, yes. So in React, we have to mix HTML with JavaScript, with not ideal. Here, that's pure Kotlin again, and we use Kotlin functions to generate HTML. Again, H is a function, P is a function, and P knows that it's a text level HTML, so we cannot insert a div inside of P, but we can insert pretty much everything inside of div, because that's how HTML works.
Meanwhile, Microsoft have upgraded the solution format to XML.
Yes. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What we have in terms of differences, everything else is really similar.
Yeah.
We have a more generic coroutines in Kotlin, we have keywords in C#, we have compiler plugins and source code generators, and pretty much we have one exclusive Kotlin and C# feature.
Yeah. So let's have a vote. How are we doing so far?
And I'll be keeping score.
Oh, it's got a bit closer. It appears that Kotlin fans are slower at using Slido. I don't know what that says. Yeah. But no, that's actually closer than I was expecting from this conference.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in all of you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so 1 to C#.
1, yeah. I'll try to convince you.
Okay, so let's talk about type systems. Obviously, C# and .NET, they're developed in tandem, and so the type system evolves alongside things, whereas Kotlin is running on top of the JVM, and so it's held back by things. So for example, in C# we have reified generics that work at runtime. You can actually create completely new generic types at runtime. Which comes with a lot of benefits. We also have value types, things that are allocated on the stack and not on the heap, so we can avoid triggering the garbage collector as much as possible. And the base class library and most popular NuGet packages are now fully annotated with the nullable reference types, so we can get the warnings when we might be processing a null parameter or might be passing a null parameter to a function that doesn't accept one.
And nothing of it is kind of supported in JVM.
No.
There are no generics in runtime, there are no value types in runtime, and despite that we have nice nullability support in Kotlin and all the Kotlin libraries. When it comes to interoperability with Java, that's just a rabbit hole. That's terrible. But we still have one nice feature, because the sealed keyword works differently in Kotlin. It works on the class hierarchy level rather than on a class level.
Which just sounds weird to me.
Yes,
And
but
what's
I'm
a sealed hierarchy?
well, I'm going to explain it in a moment.
Okay. But no, so in C# we have a very powerful generic system with generic constraints. They added interfaces and added operator support to interfaces so that we can now have an I-number interface that supports plus and minus and times and divide and so on. And so we can now, rather than writing the same method over and over again for int32 and int64 and float and double, we can just create a single generic method and say this works with numbers or anything that supports addition.
Yes, and despite we can do similar things in Kotlin, it's not quite, because here we lack the support of value types. So for like generic math, for example, it's important. We can do some meta programming. We can even use reified generics in Kotlin because it patches the hole in the JVM runtime. It basically it copies the bytecode instead.
Yeah.
So it's like C++ implementation. But this is something only available in C#, and that's a nice feature.
And we also have, thanks to ASP.NET Core and Kestrel and Ben Adams specifically, we have an awful lot of advanced features for dealing with memory and avoiding heap allocation. So we have like structs and ref structs to make passing structs faster and not copy them around. We have value tasks and span. I do like a 2-day workshop on how to use span, basically. And we can say generics have to be structs. We've got unsafe blocks. We can stack alloc lists onto the stack and avoid allocations. And yeah, so we do have an awful lot of... And if you really need to, in unsafe code, you can just do pointer maths and crash your code with an access violation exception.
I have 2 questions. The first one is, why didn't we add yet another QR code with your workshop here? There's a nice blank space.
Because I suck at marketing.
Yeah, we'll need to do it. We'll need to do it. Secondly, why do you even want to do it? Like, just use Rust for this.
Well, no, because you see, Rust's too easy. It's much more fun to do really complicated things in C# than it is to do really easy things in Rust.
Well, that's questionable. Okay. Regardless, so speaking of sealed hierarchies, long story short, these are discriminated unions in disguise. So the main thing about it is that we can tell the compiler, hey, this is the class hierarchy that we not want to be, extended anymore. So the compiler now knows that, all the implementations are in the same package. So when we do pattern matching here, it's not quite pattern matching, but for the sake of simplicity, let's think about it as a pattern matching. That's exhaustive. So discriminated unions are here in Kotlin.
We don't want discriminated unions. Nobody wants discriminated unions.
Nobody ever asked for discriminated union in C#. No. But, I think that they are going to make it in .NET 10.
Yeah, definitely in C# 14. Definitely.
Yes. And these things were implemented in Kotlin right from the start, I suppose. Like in 2011. So in terms of runtimes, despite that we don't have those nice value types, we have a bunch of garbage collectors. So we can pretty much select different kinds of from a list of garbage collectors. Namely, maybe the most important one is this one. Shenandoah is a so-called real-time GC, which makes it almost you cannot even observe the stop the world events most of the time because of the heuristics. So you don't really care that much about the value types if you have such advanced garbage collectors.
Yes, which I will admit that we don't. So we basically have one garbage collector. It's got 2 modes, workstation and server. .NET 9, they've massively improved server, by the way, so you no longer have to use workstation when you're running in a Docker container. It's brilliant. But also we have 4 heaps that things can be allocated on. So you've got your main heap, your large object heap, your pinned object heap, and your frozen object heap. And the primary use for those is interview questions. And yes, just... Top tip, though, if you're in an interview and the first question is, what's the difference between a value type and a reference type, just thank them for their time and walk out, okay?
Yeah.
There you go.
And if they ask about the volatile keyword, I think, again, just thank you for your time.
Yes.
No, unless you're supposed to do some multi-threading thing. Let's continue. Runtimes. Again, we have a plethora of options in the JVM world. And namely GrailVM. I think it was the first one that introduced the concept of the AOT compilation. And we even have some interesting options like ikvm.net. So basically, we can run Java on CLR. And
You also have a bunch of parameters.
yes, bunch of parameters here, and that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
We can,
Whereas we just have the core CLR. We don't need lots of runtimes because core CLR is amazing. But we also have native AOT now, so you can compile, and actually this now works with EF Core in .NET 9 as well, which is amazing. And through native AOT, we can compile .NET, we can compile C# code to WebAssembly. We can run that in the browser, we can run it in WebAssembly runtimes like SpinCube and that sort of thing. And then Unity has the burst compiler for a subset of C# for doing highly parallelizable code, and IL to C++, which is what they use to build for Xbox and PlayStation and so on.
I think it all comes down to the following question: are you more like an iPhone person or an Android person? Because if you have an iPhone, you can't really do anything about it. But if you have Android, you tend to tweak the settings, update the UI, and so on and so forth.
Because you have to, because Android's shit.
Okay, so what do we have here? No generics in runtime, no nullability in Java libraries, no value types yet. There might be implemented eventually.
But you do have Shenandoah, so...
Yeah, like when the discriminated union will be implemented in C# or maybe later. And we have discriminated unions, and we have severely different GCs and runtimes.
So yeah, remember, you are voting each round, so it's not like cumulative so far. What do you think? It's each round individually. But yeah, for this round in particular, Santa will not bring you presents if you vote for Kotlin. Don't push him. He knows where you live.
Okay, is it 2-1?
2-1, 2-0, isn't it?
Oh, 2-0.
It's only round 2.
2-0.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm already cheating. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we've just compared the key differences between those two languages and their runtimes. So let's talk about the use cases, and let's start with traditional web applications.
So here we're talking about generate HTML, display it in a browser. And so in C# world, we have ASP.NET Core, MVC, and Razor Pages. And yeah, that's basically it. And if you look at the Tech Empower benchmarks for Fortunes in particular, which is generating HTML pages, see Spring manages 24,000 requests a second, like it's 1990. And ASP Core ADOPG, 300, so it's like 15 times faster, which means 15 times less machines that you need to run this on.
I'd like to talk about these benchmarks.
Please.
Have you ever checked the source code of these benchmarks?
Absolutely, of course I have.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's take a look. So here we can see a nice ASCII string class.
Yeah, no, ASCII string, use that every day. It's in the base class library, totally.
Please raise your hands. I think it's available in BCL, right?
It's the default string type.
Absolutely. Okay, that's the default ASP.NET routing.
I mean, yeah, how else would you do routing?
No, that's
what I do.
Exactly
what it always looks like, yeah.
Also, a nice example of date header class, a part of ASP.NET as well.
No, completely normal. That's basically
byte arrays.
Yeah, no, that's part of datetime offset.
Mm-hmm. And this is Razor. We all know that's
Razor.
How Razor looks like.
So
that's how we generate.
In the latest version of Razor, they've made the @ symbol optional. So, but this is Razor. Look away now. Just stop.
Maybe.
No, okay, we may have cheated a little bit in the Tech Empower benchmarks. A little bit.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they moved from AWS to Azure, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a coincidence. But regardless, despite that Spring is a nice and safe default choice, we are not limited with a single option. There are a lot of frameworks, and namely, for example, we have Vertex Web Kotlin with coroutines support, which gives you 356K of performance, which arguably significantly more than the vast majority of people will need on a single machine.
I mean, I build popular websites. I don't know about you.
Okay. I build boring business applications.
Yeah. So the ORM situation is much the same on both of them. We have Entity Framework, we have Dapper, we have Link to DB. You've got Spring Data and Spring Data JDBC and Juke. And yeah, we have Blazor, which is pretty cool.
Yes, and we have Kotlin multi-platform, which is clearly superior because not only it can create web applications, but we can share the code on the server side and write the same code for like a mobile application. So that's a clear winner.
Well, we have Blazor Hybrid, which lets you create a Blazor application that runs on the web, and then you can wrap it in iOS and Android applications.
Yes, but Kotlin multi-platform is just much better.
Okay. We'll see more about that in the next round, I think.
Yeah, let's ask our audience if they think so.
Okay, here we go. Voting just on traditional web applications. Oh no! Oh no!
Yes,
No!
yes.
I was not expecting this to happen.
Yes, join the dark side. We have cookies. No, we have coroutines. And
Yes,
advanced garbage collector options.
But your cookies violate the GDPR. So that's why they're dark side cookies. Hello, there's a question up at the back there.
It's unfair. JetBrains employees, please leave the audience.
Oh, I see. You've got ringers in the crowd. All right.
No, we just
I'll give you
over-provisioned
that
our talk. We are running against time here. So, yes!
1 to 2. Oh, shit.
And I'm going to obliterate you with mobile development. So, not only Kotlin is the official Android language, we have Kotlin multi-platform, which supports pretty much everything. Server, Android, iOS, desktop, web, and also you have a choice. Either you can use so-called Compose framework, and here you can see the example. Again, nice Kotlin code, trailing lambdas, functions, everything is like super clear. And we can use it pretty much everywhere, or we can replace the UI with the native component, which is just, again, Kotlin for Android and Swift for iOS.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies actually think that it's a good idea to use Kotlin multi-platform. And even as of 2024, even Google Workspace told that they are moving to, at least partially, to Kotlin multi-platform. So perhaps at some point this presentation will be powered by Kotlin as well. Or maybe it is already powered because I'm using Google Slides.
Yeah. How would you know?
And what do we have in C#?
Does anyone have like a king I could just knock over at this? Because we had Xamarin, and Xamarin was, and then they went, oh no, Xamarin's almost to the point where it's baked and finished. Let's kill it and create something new. And so now we're kind of struggling along with Maui and Blazor Hybrid, and I'm sure when Maui reaches maturity, they'll kill that too. So yeah, I'm just going to give you this one, honestly. Don't vote for C# on this round. It would not be right.
Yeah, I remember Silver. Do you remember Silverlight?
No? Never heard of it.
Never heard of it. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, no, that is the correct response for this round.
I wonder who,
Bad 2%.
who
Bad.
these people are.
Masochists. 3% of people just go, I like the possibility that all my code will become irrelevant in 5 years.
Okay, that's pretty clear.
That's pretty much
even
your
now.
round. Yeah.
Okay, let's
I'm going to
see.
take this one, though.
We'll see.
Okay, so who secretly wants to be a game developer and stop writing line of business applications? Pretty much all of us, yeah? So yeah, C# is outside of C++, it's basically the standard language for game development. We have the Unity game engine, lots of famous games, so call out if you recognize the game.
You can just shout out.
Just shout out.
Loud.
No,
Night in the Woods.
that's A Night in the Woods. This one,
Which one?
Hollow
Hollow
Knight,
Knight, yeah.
that's right. And then this one, which is a sort of Diablo rip-off. Anyone?
Pillars of Eternity.
That's Pillars of Eternity. Lovely, gorgeous-looking platformer here. Ori and the Blind Forest, that's right. This is a fake screenshot. Nobody has ever caught a Pikachu in this game, especially not one in a Santa hat. And of course, we have this ridiculously hard thing that I have destroyed at least 3 controllers while trying
I
to
think
play.
I destroyed one as well.
Yes. And Unity, we did have some issues. Like a couple of years ago, Unity went greed, and it all went a bit wrong, and everyone flocked to the other game development engine that we have on C#, which is
Yep, next slide.
Godot. This is the only Godot that people waited for, and they actually delivered it. So yes, so we actually have 2 options. Godot supports C#. It's got its own, I think it's called GD script or something, but C# is the preferred language there. So what do you got?
Well, so I would say that you don't need any engine to write like the most successful game of all time because it was written in Java, so technically it could have been written in Kotlin as well.
Yeah. So you don't need an engine, you just need a problematic Scandinavian man.
Yes, yes. May I ask, what your favorite IDE is?
That would be JetBrains Rider.
JetBrains Rider, which is written in AWT, Swing, and Compose, partially in Java and partially in Kotlin. Well,
And that's completely base Swing, like standard Swing, the same Swing that everybody else has access to.
well, that's a custom fork of Swing because
is
Swing
it?
just doesn't
Is it?
work that good.
But yeah, I mean, but we now have Avalonia, and I'm currently building a sort of side project startup thing, and it's the desktop application, which is Windows, Mac, and Linux, is written in Avalonia. The mobile app is probably going to be Kotlin multi-platform. But this is JetBrains.trace and .memory, which are cross-platform applications, and those are written in Avalonia. And I think they've actually made a bridge between Compose and Avalonia so that they can appear in the same process.
We can see those screens in Rider as well.
Yes. But no, if you haven't checked out Avalonia yet, if you want to build a desktop application, seriously, it is amazing. It's like a modern WPF without any of the baggage or backwards compatibility. It is really nice and clean.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but Avalonia gets closer than anything else. Also, you don't actually have to use XAML with Avalonia. There is a C# fluent language for it as well. I'm not sure it's official, but
Okay,
if
you think so, you can vote for Kotlin this round.
So yes, but if you actually want to build games or anything, then C# should get your vote.
So this should be pretty clear, right?
Yeah, one would hope. How are we going to do? Yeah, there we go. That's more like it. Yes.
I didn't expect this. No.
That is.
How is it possible?
That's almost the reverse. It's a real shame that there's one that's really good for desktop and games and one that's really good for mobile. Why couldn't just one of them be good for everything? Yeah. No, it's a shame.
Okay, so I think it's pretty clear. So 2 to 3. Okay, and this might be the most important round for me because that's the area I primarily work with, different kind of distributed systems. And I noticed that the more I work with, as an architect, the more I work with those systems, the more I struggle with the .NET ecosystem because, let's say, microservices. The term was coined by Netflix, and they open sourced a lot of their code, which is now known Spring Cloud, Netflix. Also, if you need some kind of identity management and authentication provider, we have Keycloak, which is written in Java, and in C# we have identity provider, which is not free of charge. Data processing, Kafka, Hadoop, Spark, they just don't care about any other drivers. They will tell you like we have Java, and if you don't like it, we don't care. And databases, etcd that powers Kubernetes is written in Java, Elasticsearch that powers pretty much everything, including Stack Exchange, is written in Java, Cassandra, Druid, Neo4j. So many technologies. There's a lot of prejudice, and the status quo is such that if you want to work with these technologies, JVM is just a much safer, better choice.
Yeah, so in C#, so we do have Aspire. Aspire is ridiculously cool. So it does things like give you...
Raise your hands who has already tried Aspire.
Yeah, so, and if you haven't, you should.
Yeah, if you need just a single thing from this talk, Try it.
Try Aspire. We have a Zero Active Directory. We plug into lots of different things. We have Identity Server, which does have a license, but only if you're making more than $1 million a year. So we can talk to Kafka, we can talk to Hadoop, we can talk to Spark, but I will admit it's not the native experience. We can't like bundle up a little bit of code and throw it at a Hadoop cluster in the same way that you can with Kotlin. We don't need all these databases. We've got Cosmos DB, which solves all these problems, plus the one of having too much venture capital money. And actually, we do now have Garnet, which is a Redis clone written in .NET to avoid paying the license fees to Redis Labs.
Yeah, but again, the same issues written by Microsoft, so there's no competition or community here.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's again a really Microsoft-oriented ecosystem. And also, one more observation. Despite that technically you can use any cloud with any technology, realistically, you'll be working more with AWS and GCP if you are a JVM person, and you'll be working more with Azure if you are a C# person. So this is something to consider because different cloud providers, they are not equal. They provide different services, different budget options, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And obviously Azure is the best cloud because it has the nicest web interface. And as far as I'm aware, it's never deleted a hedge fund.
Okay. So if you need strong support for open source technologies, you should vote for Kotlin. If you are a Microsoft fanboy, you know what to do.
Wow. Yeah, no, I think you've got that round.
We are pretty close.
Yeah.
3-3. I really like this.
This is much closer than I was expecting. Damn you all to hell.
Yeah, so the next round, I think it's kind of a continuation of the previous one because I'm not sure. It's kind of a chicken and egg problem. I'm not sure which one is the first one. And in terms of vendors and community, we can think about Kotlin like, okay, we have Oracle, that's the main beneficiary of JVM. We have JetBrains, which created Kotlin, and we have Microsoft that needs C#. But if we think about it a little bit more, then Google also a main beneficiary of Kotlin because now Kotlin is the official Android language.
So yeah, and JetBrains do a lot of great stuff in the C# and .NET world. They do ReSharper and Rider and the profiling tools. And Stack Exchange, famously Stack Overflow, built on .NET. They're now running fully on .NET 9. And they also ship a bunch of libraries, so the Redis client and Dapper and so forth. So, we do have other people apart from Microsoft, just only a bit.
Yes, but again, my issue is that it's primarily Microsoft, while here we have the entire FANG stack, in the sense that if you just open any job descriptions of this company, you will find a lot of JVM-related positions. It might not be Kotlin per se, it might be Java, it might be Scala, but these are all JVM-based technologies. While if you are using C#, you are mostly using with Microsoft-oriented companies.
Yes.
And you have to use Windows.
I would just like to point out that 4 of your companies are evil.
And Microsoft is not evil anymore.
Yeah,
at least we think
not evil
so.
Anymore, Microsoft 2024. So yes, but no, we do have, so Google and Amazon both put a lot of effort into high quality SDKs for their cloud platforms and everything. Also, one thing that we have a lot of in the .NET world is component vendors doing mostly data grids, but charting components and this sort of thing. So Telerik, DevExpress, Syncfusion, not going to say that other one out loud because I've had trauma. But yes, so we do have a rich component ecosystem, which you do have to pay for though.
Yes, but I mean, you have to pay for some good stuff.
So yeah, Java and C# are sitting pretty much neck and neck on the Stack Overflow survey of what languages people are using. But in fairness, Java has probably dropped 10% because people got fed up waiting for Oracle to add features and just went, we're going to use Kotlin instead. So, yeah.
Yes, there are two things here. So first thing that I see on this screen is that perhaps if you want to be a Kotlin-only person, it might not be feasible because you might expect to work with Java as well. But on the other hand, you always have this nice opportunity to tell to your team like, hey, we can switch from Java to Kotlin, and the vast majority of Java people will be willing to do so.
Yeah. And you can literally have like a .kt file and a .java file in the same project,
Yes.
can't you?
Yes. Unlike C# and F#,
where there has to be separate projects. Yeah. So which it is pretty cool.
I was told that you can even put some Scala files to the same package.
But why would you?
I don't know.
No.
So, what do we have here?
So yeah, here we basically have, you can have consistency and a solid, consistent, supported experience with Microsoft, or you can rely on evil people to maintain their so-called open source things. And yeah, I think we can safely say there's plenty of job opportunities out there on both of these languages and platforms. So yeah,
Okay.
let's go ahead and vote on vendors and community.
So are we voting for...
This is kind of the decider. So, oh, look at that.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Just, oh. Could we, I think we may just have edged it there.
Did someone forgot to vote?
Yeah.
No?
I think that guy left. He would have voted for you, and that would probably have shifted it the other way around. So that is very, very, very slightly people voting for...
Yes, for C#.
For being trapped on the Microsoft bus. So yeah, okay, we do have one more round at the
one
end
bonus
here.
track.
We don't have Slido for this, we're just going to do this by a show of hands. So for the new, because you can't do a talk in 2024 without talking about artificial intelligence and everything. And so, who thinks that C# is the best language for AI and machine learning? Show of hands. And who thinks Java or Kotlin is the best language for AI and machine learning? Yeah? Yeah, you're all wrong. It's Python. Yeah, if you're training data sets or building models or analyzing data or any of that sort of stuff, you just use Python. It doesn't matter that Python itself is slow because all you're doing is calling into C++ and tensor libraries anyway. So yes.
So, the competition was quite tight.
It really was.
Yeah.
Much closer than I was expecting, actually.
What is the conclusion for you?
The conclusion here is that people are voting based on the attractiveness of the presenter. No, I think the conclusion here is that they are both extremely good languages.
I agree.
I occasionally do have to do JVM things, and I use Kotlin. Whenever I do that, it's much easier. And IntelliJ support for Kotlin, obviously, is extremely good, because they're both from the same vendor. There are things that C# is better at, desktop applications, gaming, that sort of thing, and there are things that Kotlin is better at. It's horses for courses. And the best thing you can do as a programmer is to know both of them, learn both of them, and appreciate the differences.
Yes, and Kotlin will give you much better experience as a C# developer. At least it was my case. So switching from C# to Java feels lackluster, but switching to C# to Kotlin feels like actual fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually started with the Kotlin multi-platform thing, and it's close enough that actually sometimes I get confused and I type switch in Kotlin when I should be typing when and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, they are both excellent. And so yeah, if anyone wants to come and debate any of this further, then we'll be around the rest of the day. I'm doing Programming's Greatest Mistakes on the main stage this afternoon. Come along and watch that, it's fun.
Sure.
There are no deaths or airplane crashes if you're off to the airport afterwards, so don't worry about that. But yes, this was great. Thank you very much for inviting me to do this with you. And well played. Thank you.